Subo ahora un trabajo hecho por mi amigo Robbie de Blue Origins. Entrad en su canal después de ver esto, veréis qué maravillosos trabajos tiene. Lleva años trabajando para demostrar la importancia de la caza en la conservación, la preservación de los espacios naturales, de las zonas rurales, lo que ayudamos los cazadores, y de verdad que ha hecho un magnífico trabajo explicando el desastre de Cabañeros, lo que se consigue cuando impera la ignorancia y lo que va a ser un ejemplo a nivel mundial de lo que no debe hacerse. Así que a partir de ahora voy a trabajar con Robbie, junto con Ignacio, John Wild Hunters, y vamos a intentar todos juntos comunicar la importancia que tiene la caza, hacer proyectos juntos, como el de los niños, que os he contado en África, y seguimos adelante.
Ready to go? Let her rip. You know, I want to make sure that we're being as truthful and as authentic as we possibly can in this documentary.
Pues pensé que era el principio del fin de Cabañeros como le conocemos.
Even though it's high fenced, the whole national park.
The public part of the national park is high fenced.
That's right. And all the entrances, all the gates are locked down.
Something has to manage an animal population, because if we don't, as humans, we don't manage a population, even though our human fingerprint is on the landscape. We choose not to do anything. Mother Nature is going to do something. Mother Nature is going to introduce a disease. Mother Nature is going to bring drought.
So they can have a effect by browsing on the vegetation that is absolutely catastrophic.
Ese es un ejemplo, el de Cabañeros, que dentro de muy pocos años se estudiará en todo el mundo.
Cabañeros National Park is a Spanish national park nestled in the hills southwest of Toledo, Spain. Founded in 1995, the park covers about 390 square kilometers. What's amazing about this national park is that 42% of it is actually private land. Up until 2020, the park had no issues, no complaints from the public, and essentially was doing what it was supposed to do, which was to protect wildlife and biodiversity. Animal management had been done using a very traditional method called monterias. A monteria is a hunting tool that occurs a couple of times a year to reduce animal numbers quickly and substantially, so that for the rest of the year, the animals in the environment are not disturbed. That was until 2020. That's when the Spanish government put a hunting ban in place in Cabañeros. Because of that ban, Cabañeros now serves as a beautiful, natural experiment to test the idea that a lot of people have, that hunting bans actually benefit wildlife, that they actually benefit people, and that they benefit economies. Well, let's see. We visited Cabañeros twice in 18 months to try and figure out what has the effect been of this hunting ban. Have we seen the benefits to wildlife? Have we seen the benefits to people? Has the economy flourished?
I think it's important to note that we're focusing on wildlife management, habitat health, ecosystem health. But there's a socio-economic engine, socio-economic ripple effect that is associated with an activity like hunting. Jobs, livelihoods, economics, okay? Especially in rural places like here in Spain, in Cabañeros in Spain. You can see the same thing happening in Zimbabwe or rural Australia or rural Pakistan, in that the rural community functions on certain pillars that the community is built on. Typically, agriculture is a big pillar. Okay. Secondly, some sort of tourism, some sort of ecotourism. People want to come to the countryside. They want to see the diversity. They want to see, for instance, this area. They want to see the Mediterranean forest. Thirdly, is a land use that is of choice. here in Cabañeros, that land use of choice is hunting. And so it's a three-pillared stool, three-legged stool, essentially. And in a rural landscape that people are now leaving to go to the cities, each leg becomes more important. And so when you take a leg away, like you take a leg like hunting away from the people of this area, it has a tremendous effect. Have you seen a ripple effect in the communities around Cabañeros because there's nobody coming here, right? For 2 years, nobody really has come to spend money here.
That's right. And this is something that you will realize. You will see. I will show you. There's a lot of businesses that have been locked down. A lot of business that that will not survive in the next year.
It's not due to COVID? It's not due to COVID?
No, nothing to COVID.
But COVID was the same time frame, right?
Yeah.
COVID and the hunting ban, they shape over one another. So,
Yeah.
you know, from my perspective, trying to be fair and unbiased here, are we not just seeing symptoms of COVID?
No, not at all. I mean, during COVID time, we could hunt it. I mean, during the season of 2020, we were in the middle of the COVID, we could hunt.
Oh, okay.
So we quit hunting December 2020, even with COVID. So that was not the fact. The fact is that there were some salaries and some jobs here that have been lost because these people had to move out because there were no more job for them, no more work for them. And this will happen more and more.
With the impact of this ban clearly reaching farther than we initially thought, it was time we spoke to some of those that were affected.
If there wasn't any hunting, if hunting was removed completely, banned completely, not just temporarily, completely, how would it affect this town?
Pues esto afectaría en que lo más normal es que nos iríamos, poco a poco nos iríamos toda la zona del pueblo, todo, no este pueblo, sino toda la zona, todos los pueblos de por aquí. Por aquí sin la caza no se entiende que pueda subsistir el pueblo solamente con lo que hay ahora mismo de agricultura y ganadería. O sea, es imposible. O sea, una de las bases fundamentales de la entrada de aquí del pueblo de dinero es la caza.
Bueno, pues soy José Ángel, alcalde de Los Navalucillos, uno de los pueblos que están integrados dentro del Parque Nacional de Cabañeros, que aporta 1.800 hectáreas al Parque Nacional de Cabañeros. Pues económicamente, para el ayuntamiento como tal, le supone un 10% más o menos del presupuesto. Un 10%, es importante. Y luego nosotros tenemos 6 cotos de caza mayor, y esos 6 cotos de caza mayor generan riqueza no solo durante las monterías. Yo hice un estudio ya hace tiempo y se traducía en más de 1 millón de euros anuales de forma indirecta al pueblo, al municipio de Los Navalucillos. O sea, es importante.
Bueno, mi nombre es Benjamín Moraleda, tengo una empresa de catering y de restauración y bueno, estamos en Piedrabuena, provincia de Ciudad Real, y nos dedicamos sobre todo a dar comidas en campo, en tema de monterías y todo esto.
How much of your business is hunting versus not hunting?
80%.
80% of your business is hunting. Of the 80% of your business, how much is on Cabañeros private estates?
Pues un 60%, porque toda esta zona prácticamente está en Montes Norte, está enclavada en zona Cabañeros. Entonces, el 60% seguro.
Bueno, el prohibir la caza en Cabañeros nos afecta bastante. Mucha de la gente que venía a cazar no viene, no está viniendo. Eso económicamente a toda la zona nos repercute muchísimo. y por lo tanto si no se hace algo al respecto, las poblaciones pequeñas y el trabajo como el que yo y otras empresas ejercemos se acabaría.
Me llamo Pablo Fernández Jiménez, trabajo de mulero, me dedico a sacar reses. Claro, me ha afectado el ingreso, yo era una de las fincas más grandes que cazaba y he tenido que reducir un poco las mulas porque no me hacían falta tantas, he tenido que vender algunas.
Soy Fernando, estamos en la finca Ciguiñuelas y estoy aquí de guarda y bueno, pues estamos dentro del parque de Cabañeros, enclavados. Pues hombre, que prohibir la caza aquí, lo primero que te quitan pues es puesto de trabajo. Ya no solamente eso, sino pues no solamente yo que estoy trabajando en la finca directamente aquí, no sé, pues desde hoteles, es que la caza mueve mucha, no solamente lo que es la propia finca, mueve los pueblos de alrededor.
It's funny that a hotel like this is completely empty. It's completely empty, not because of hunting, not because hunting has been banned, but you know, rural towns like this in the Spanish countryside, slowly degrading. Get rid of hunting, get rid of something that's bringing money into a place like this. It's not good. It's not good for these rural towns. So yeah, hunting is not the thing that caused this place to be closed or shut down. But the last 2 years with no revenue, no economics, no people coming in here, no people staying, like there's not even a single bed for you to stay in and around this national park. There's no hotels, there's no rooms, there's no nothing. Like you can't stay here anymore.
Han cerrado gasolineras en la comarca, algún hotel, en algún pueblo han cerrado también algún restaurante, porque al no venir gente a cazar, hay pueblecitos muy chicos por aquí que se quedan solos.
Does he think the town wants hunting to come back, or the town is happy that hunting it's almost just forgotten? Not that it was bad, but we'll replace it with something else.
Que si piensas que el pueblo y la gente del pueblo quiere que se vuelva a cazar en Cabañeros, o es algo que se ha olvidado y...
No. La gente quiere que se vuelva a cazar en Cabañeros, eso indiscutiblemente, porque mucha gente de aquí, de los navalocillos, han trabajado y trabajan en esas fincas para, pues en una montería, sacando reses, entran con los perros y luego en el mantenimiento del día a día de esa finca, echando de comer a los animales, labrando la tierra para poder sembrar, o sea, indiscutiblemente, aparte porque aquí hay una cultura de la caza, aquí la gente, estamos rodeados de caza.
And the other thing that we've seen is that you've told me the last time we were here, there were 9 people employed on this property.
Right.
Before we came, there were like 18.
Mm-hmm.
Now today, there's only 4.
That's right. Why? Because there's no activity. And what's the point to have so many people for no activity? And we don't have a target. We don't have a date where we are going to start. So that's why there's no point to keep the labor. So we are reducing it. And it's shame because there are lots of unemployed people in the area. All these towns that we saw last time, they're losing population. People are going to the cities because they have no job here. So it is really a shame, and it's something that we were talking about the other day, when last 18 months ago when you were here, and it's happening, and this is a fact. I mean, we were 9 those days, we are only 4 now.
Mi nombre es José Miguel Montoya Oliver, soy doctor ingeniero de montes y he sido profesor de la Escuela de Ingeniería de Montes en Madrid. La naturaleza tiene su funcionamiento y el hombre tiene sus necesidades. Entonces, conciliar las dos cosas es un proceso de ingeniería complejo, no es un proceso fácil. Entonces, ¿qué tenemos que hacer? Adecuar la naturaleza al hombre y a la conservación. Al final es garantizar la sostenibilidad de las cosas que hacemos. Es decir, siempre que actuemos en beneficio a la vez de la naturaleza y del hombre. Y ese asunto, pues claro, es bastante difícil.
When we first visited Cabañeros, this imposed hunting ban had been in place for over 2 years. Now, I've studied, looked at, experienced firsthand animal populations all across the world. I've been to Africa, New Zealand, Europe, all across the United States. In every single case study, whenever animals are confined, there has to be a strong hand of humans in the management equation. The idea that because of the hunting ban, there had already been 2 years of uncontrolled population expansion in what is essentially a confined area that's fenced, even though it's pretty big, really has me wondering, what are we about to see here?
So the landscape looks terrible because it's the end of the summer, it's been a long, hot, dry summer, and we're here because this is the time of year you want to know whether your animals are stressed or are they unhealthy, because the rut is about to kick in. We could have come here in the winter, we could have come here when there's going to be green grass in the ground, but the animals would have been dispersed. But now's the time to understand how an increased capacity of deer on the landscape, an increased density of deer on the landscape affects this habitat, affects this ecosystem.
How many animals do you think you have on the property right now that are too many?
There are too many now. In Cabañeros, that is 6,000 hectares, a little bit more. We have easy next to 4,000 deer.
And how many do you want to have on the property?
Not more than 1,800, 1,700. This is what we had before.
So in those 5 years, 3 years has been hunting, 2 years no hunting. Have you seen a change in the health of the wildlife over that time?
Sí, la verdad que sí. Antes estaban, más calidad, menos densidad, ahora mucha densidad. Hay muchísimos más, el doble o el triple. Y ha bajado la calidad. Mucho más delgado y bueno, que están pasando hambre.
Me llamo Javier Camarena, vivo desde hace 30 años aquí en Horcajo de los Montes, soy veterinario, tengo una empresa de turismo activo y soy hasta ahora teniente alcalde de Horcajo de los Montes.
You used to work for the state. You used to work for the state as the veterinarian for Cabañeros National Park, right?
Sí, he estado cerca de 20 años haciendo el control sanitario de los ciervos que se capturaban en el Parque Nacional de Cabañeros.
Why are the animals being moved to a slaughterhouse? Why are they not being hunted here? It's the same scenario, right?
Yo es una de las cosas que no entiendo mucho, porque creo que aunque legalmente se puede hacer, que de hecho lo están haciendo, porque cuando se hace cualquier cosa en el parque cumple la legislación, pero no entiendo que haya alargar un poco la agonía, transportarlos 400 kilómetros cuando se pueden sacrificar in situ, cuando luego el sacrificio es el mismo, tanto en un matadero como puede ser en el mismo parque. Y hay que evitar el sufrimiento, y yo creo que lo suyo sería, pues como se estaba haciendo hasta ahora, sacrificarlo in situ.
Last year, as they were realizing that the problem of overpopulation is getting higher and higher, this was in January 22nd this year, they sent us a letter that we were allowed to kill only by stocking or hidden in a stand 5,000 deer in 1 month.
Oh my God.
So obviously we refused that option because it was completely impossible.
Who's going to pay for that?
Private owners. That's the other thing. They wanted to support the national park and not paying a euro for that.
Wow.
Okay, my name is Cristian Gortázar. I work at the IREC Research Institute on Wildlife here at the University of Castilla-La Mancha, where I am a professor of animal health.
Can you tell us whether or not whether wildlife populations can grow infinitely without any effect on the habitat and or potential disease transmission in their populations?
As you know perfectly, populations grow in a way that starts being very slow, then it becomes exponential, and then it gets asymptotical once the animal population reaches the carrying capacity of the habitat. So there is nothing like an infinite growth. The problem is that once you are close to the carrying capacity and you start to reach this asymptote, the way the populations regulate themselves is a disastrous way, because it is based on diseases. Unless there is hunting, there is predation, or there is other means of reducing the population size. And when you reach this asymptotic level, you are already at a level where the effect of the population on the habitat is very detrimental.
Look at this. So this is the report that you were telling me about?
Yep. Let's have a look.
2.35 times higher for deer, 2.74 times higher for pigs. That's 33% and 40%
increasement per year.
Per year.
So this can only be worse if you don't stop it.
Yep.
Okay?
Okay.
We have a population now of 70 deer per square kilometer. We need to reduce it to 25. That means that we need to take out at least 3,000 deer in this property. In this property.
So yesterday we did a game drive on the backside of the property. Given that pigs and deer are crepuscular, i.e. dawn, dusk, are going to be at their most active, and obviously we can't survey them in the thick bush. We're going to run these roads that are essentially right in the midst of the edges of these big fields over here, as well as right on the edges of the forest. We're going to do a game count, essentially. So the idea on the population control management plan put in place in 2020 was that a sustainable deer population for Cabañeros National Park is 25 deer per square kilometer. The numbers today here are around 70, as they believe, almost triple. So nothing absolutely concrete, peer-reviewed science about what we're about to do, but we're simply going to just drive a road. We're going to count the number of pigs, the number of deer that we see over a set distance. 1, 2 deer over there. 2, 3, 4, 15.
Oh, 2 pigs on the left.
1, 2, 3, 4.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
There's one of the trees on the left as well.
It's like a farmyard.
No, there's 4 piglets there.
We're going to assume some sort of spatial area around the road that the deer and pigs are being pulled from. And that way we can then calculate a density, which is the number of animals per area. We'll make it into a kilometer squared. And we'll see. We'll see what the numbers are. Pretty simple.
What are they on?
A lot. As I said previously, this isn't a peer-reviewed study. It hasn't been repeated, and if it simply looks like 4 guys in the back of a truck counting animals, that's because it is. It might not be perfectly scientific, but it's a good reflection of the reality on the ground. So apologies. I'm going to get a little nerdy just for a second. So we drove about 19 kilometers. I had to assume some sort of distance around the road that we could see. So I assumed about 80 meters on either side of the road, so roughly a width of about 160 meters. Obviously, at times it was less than that, at other times it was more than that. So we looked at about 300 hectares. It's about 3 square kilometers. In that distance, we saw 616 animals, 268 pigs, 348 deer. If you've done your calculations in your head and you were good at math at school, that's about 205 animals per square kilometer. The healthy carrying capacity of this area is determined by the managers, the scientists in Spain, is about 25 animals per square kilometer. That means we saw 8 times the amount of animals that we were supposed to see. You did not hear me incorrectly. 8 times the amount of animals. You don't have to be a scientist to know that can't be good for the habitat or the wildlife. It's an incredible number of animals, and as you can see from this drone shot, we didn't even see them all.
Hay una cosa que está muy clara. Un animal que come, un animal bien alimentado, es más difícil que se pille una enfermedad que un animal que está delgado. Llevamos años de sequía y como la carencia de alimento y comida sea pequeña, hay más riesgo de contagiarse unos con otros y las enfermedades se van a propagar mucho más rápidas. Eso está claro.
Sobre todo, nadie se ha parado a pensar qué cantidad de sufrimiento animal se acumula. Es decir, un animal que está hambriento, que muere por enfermedad, que muere de pequeño porque su madre le abandona, etc. Son muchos animales, muchos más de los que tendría la naturaleza, sufriendo mucho más de lo que sufrirían esos animales en condiciones de control y gestión adecuado. Es decir, no hay mayor perversión que no controlar los animales y conducirse a la evolución de sus poblaciones, porque es verdaderamente lo más cruel que se puede hacer. O sea, no hay mayor crueldad hacia los animales, en este caso concreto, que la no caza. Son muchos más, sufriendo mucho más. Luego el dolor en la naturaleza se multiplica por n. ¿Por qué entonces se hace? Porque no se ha hecho una educación ambiental adecuada, sino exactamente lo contrario. Parece que quien conduce a las poblaciones silvestres es el malo de la película. Pues no, no es el malo de la película. El malo de la película es aquel que dice ser conservador, que dice ser animalista, que defiende los derechos de los animales, pero genera unos destrozos y unos daños y una cuantía de dolor tremenda. O sea, es hora de hablar en términos numéricos, en términos de ingeniería. Y un dato fundamental es la cuantía del dolor que se produce en cada espacio. Porque el dolor existe en la naturaleza, no es un invento del hombre, ¿eh?
Can you give us his name and his job and specialty?
Sí, yo me llamo Juan Caballero de la Calle, soy doctor ingeniero de montes Trabajo en la actualidad en la Universidad de Castilla-La Mancha y como ingeniero de montes realicé la tesis doctoral sobre la cría en semilibertad del ciervo común. Y luego seguí durante años con la investigación del ciervo.
From your expertise in forestry, what are the effects of browsing, specifically deer, on forestry structure in, Cabañeros National Park?
En el momento que hay una superpoblación de ciervos, el daño que van produciendo en el monte pues es tremendo. Es decir, las especies más nobles al final no se pueden regenerar. Es decir, si cae una bellota al suelo y sale una plantita de encina, el ciervo se la va a comer. Eso es así. Si salen 100 plantitas de encina en 3.000 o 4.000 metros cuadrados y hay muchos ciervos, pues no va a quedar ni una sola. O sea, regeneración no va a haber ninguna.
So far, we've only shown you the welfare of the two main species most obviously affected. But when you look beyond the red deer and beyond the wild boar, what effect does their population boom have on the rest of the habitat? It's very difficult for people to understand that there are more things in the ecosystem than just deer and pigs. In many parts of Africa, I've seen habitats decimated, essentially eroded to nothing, and effectively the extinction of biodiversity due to the high numbers of livestock, essentially just lots of animals. Livestock or wild animals, when you talk about too many of either of them, they're the same. With the numbers of animals we're seeing in Cabañeros, I'm beginning to wonder if the situation is any different from what I've seen in Africa. And absolutely critically, what happens when you push an ecosystem like this too far?
¿Cuál es vuestro trabajo?
Nuestro trabajo es hacer veredas para preparar para el corcho.
Y cuando comparas esta finca con otras que conocéis, que habéis trabajado, en las que se caza habitualmente, si habéis notado que en esta finca el monte está más dañado, más deteriorado y menos monte.
Sí, esta finca está muy castigada de las reses, porque hay mucha cantidad de reses e incluso las veredas están mucho más claras de la densidad que hay de animales.
¿Crees que tiene futuro el monte aquí si sigue habiendo la cantidad de animales o va a ir para atrás, cada vez menos monte?
Cada vez menos monte, cada vez menos monte.
Se come el retoñillo que va saliendo
y el recrío no hay ninguno, se lo han comido todo.
O sea, que no hay regeneración de árboles.
No hay. No.
So a lot of people say, show me the proof, right? Show me the proof. The place to show it is right here. This is where we are. And you can see from here down, there are no leaves. It's called a browse line. A browse line occurs when there is too many deer, in this case, too much wildlife in an area. And they will pull down branches to get at the leaves. And you can see right behind me, the entire horizon is a browse line, i.e. the health of this ecosystem, the health of this vegetation is not good because there's just too much wildlife here. There's no browse line here because deer have been extirpated from this enclosure for the last 10 years. The browse line that you're seeing outside is not natural. This is probably not natural either because there's no deer here. Deer are native to the system. So you're going to have some sort of browse pressure on these oaks, but not the browse pressure that you're seeing outside.
This is the clear example, Rob, I was trying to show. That this is not a very tastable species.
It's not very edible.
No.
High protein, low protein?
No, low protein is one of the last chances they eat.
It's the last thing that they would eat.
Yeah, that's right.
Dude, this is crazy.
You know, they eat everything they can until they
can't even reach. They can't reach the middle.
They cannot reach. That's the thing. That's why they are growing.
It's like someone took a freaking hedge trimmer. Like
Absolutely.
That machine, right? That
Absolutely. There is all the single growths are eaten.
I'm not really a bit more.
I'm a deer.
A bit more. A bit more.
I can't.
Robbie, I can't. You're not fully listening to the point.
Now he records.
This is the grazing pressure per species of bushes, okay? And the red is the limit that they can sustain, the grazing pressure they can sustain. That's it. So there are lots of bushes and species above the grazing limit. That's right. And many of them are those that are bushes, and they have the height what the animals can eat. I mean, because all these are big trees. Yeah. And these are some pictures of how is some of the areas and how they were, and we are comparing pictures from 2018, 2021. You can clearly see the change. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Look at this.
In our time at Cabañeros, we came at the worst time and at the best time to truly understand the gradient of the impact that this ban has had. The reason we came back during springtime is to show Cabañeros at its most healthy from a vegetation standpoint. We want to see this place in the best condition possible, as well as obviously the worst. Vegetation is key here. Vegetation is key to understanding the health of a habitat because it simultaneously provides the sustenance and shelter for the entire food chain, from little insects to partridges to deer and pigs. There is no better way to show change in vegetation than through the use of satellite imagery. These satellite image comparisons that you see here tell a very concerning story played out over a massive landscape. The recession of the tree line and cover shows what effect the overabundance of deer and pigs is having on the key thing that keeps everything in balance in this ecosystem, which is the habitat. Without the habitat, well, you can almost forget about everything else. No flowers, no insects, no nothing. Essentially, the whole system of Cabañeros is unraveling.
Es importantísimo el control de las poblaciones de ciervos. Normalmente los aprovechamientos, bajo la experiencia que yo tengo de esas fincas grandes que hay en Cabañeros, normalmente ese ciervo lo han tenido controlado. En el momento que ya no puedes acceder a la caza de ese ciervo, pues claro, surgen unos problemas pues que al final terminan arruinando la vegetación.
Soy Daniel Burón, soy ingeniero de montes de formación. Y desde el principio pues me especialicé en la gestión de fauna.
Is there a relationship between herbivores, grazing and habitat health?
Sí, hay una relación directísima y total entre la herbivoría y la salud del monte y por lo tanto de la biodiversidad. En la naturaleza, una de las cosas que me dijeron cuando yo empecé a trabajar, y me lo dijo un jefe que tuve, es que todo está conectado y es una cosa que vas confirmando y si no tienes eso en la cabeza vas confirmando con el tiempo, y si no tienes eso en la cabeza de hecho no te puedes dedicar con efectividad y a la gestión de la naturaleza, porque cada vez que tocas una cosa afectas a todo, ¿no?
Okay, so what I'm going to do is, because we've got enclosures here and often you don't see sort of an opportunity for a scientific experiment, what we're going to do is what is in the science community called a line intercept transact. So what that means is I'm going to walk 30 paces, and every time I put a foot down, I'm going to just say and record what species my foot touches, essentially. I'm going to use a stick to put down exactly where it goes. Normally I'd have a tape measure, I'd run a line and would drop it every 30 centimeters or 1 meter. I don't have that equipment. I'm just going to do as best a job as I can, straight line as I can. I think importantly, what I didn't note here, because I didn't need to, is that every single step I hit, well, I did note it, every single step for 30 of them, I hit something. I hit a piece of vegetation. There was no bare grass, no bare ground, essentially, which is an important point inside an enclosure versus outside. So now we go outside, we do the same thing. Wild onion, fine grass, star, clover.
More importantly, how many times did you record bare dirt?
Out of 30, 10, 11, 12, 13, so almost 50%. So call it 40%, 42% bare dirt outside, 0 bare dirt inside. Species count on the outside, 4 species. What do we say on the inside? 10 species?
9 to 10.
9 to 10. So we've been looking at enclosures to show differences here inside the estate in terms of here's browsing pressure and what it should look like under 0 browsing pressure, which at the end of the day, let's be honest, that's not normal.
It's not going to happen.
Okay, it's not going to happen. So what we want is we want an estate like the private one in Cabañeros, that there is no hunting, wildlife population has gone up, and we want to compare it against an estate that is hunted normally.
Absolutely right.
And this fence is it.
Yeah, we are on the boundary of the state of Cabañeros and the boundary of the national park.
So this side is national park.
That's right.
Hunting is banned.
Yeah.
That side
is not national park. Hunting is allowed.
Hunting's allowed. And just visually, what do you think is better? Does it look better inside or does it look better outside?
The words are not necessary.
The words are not necessary, exactly. Like there is a clear difference. Like there's grass, there is flowers, there is abundant cover. You even pointed out species on that side, the legume species, that you will not find on this side.
That's right.
In the case of very high red deer populations, you can end up with situations that resemble a desert. So they can have a effect by browsing on the vegetation that is absolutely catastrophic. Catastrophic to the point that it is impossible that any vertebrates that need scrubland or that need a relatively high vegetation can survive or can exist in significant numbers in the presence of too high red deer populations. There is an effect of trampling, there is an effect of consuming the vegetation, and an effect of opening the habitat. As I say, for some species this may be good, for a lot of species this is completely negative.
Can you talk specifically to the effects on vegetation?
Essentially, there is a depletion of the herbaceous and the scrub strata. So essentially you end up with a desert with trees in between, and the trees have only leaves from a certain height, the height of the highest deer basically. There are species that will be benefited, clearly, those species that like open habitats, and there are species that will be affected negatively, particularly those where there is a competence effect. For instance, rabbits. You will not have rich rabbit populations in places with high wild ruminant densities, and the rabbit in turn is a main prey for very endangered predators like lynx or imperial eagles. So you are not likely to have many lynx or many imperials in a place with a too high wild ruminant population. But at the same time, if you're looking, for instance, for open area loving birds like steppe birds or so, maybe they benefit from the high ruminant population, no? So it depends.
There is nothing special here to see for the main people. Maybe for biologists there are some things that are really special here, but for example, the main species of the national park are the black vulture that you can see all over the place here around, the imperial eagle. Imperial eagle you can see many more out of the national park than in the national park. Lynx, there are no lynx here. There are lynx very close to Cabañeros, but no lynx, none in Cabañeros. So what else? Deer, there's deer everywhere. Wild boar, there's wild boar in Madrid, wherever. So there's nothing special to show to the people here. It's beautiful, yes, it's beautiful. But it's as beautiful as 50 kilometers to the west or to the south or to the east.
Se podría, pero en principio con el turismo ecológico nos estaban diciendo desde que montaron el parque que esto iba a ser la leche, y aquí el turismo de momento no llega. O sea, es un aporte, pero no llega. Incluso mucha gente viene a casas rurales y a eso y no va a ver el parque. El turismo que hay es un turismo de montaña, un turismo cinegético, pero no es el 100% del parque, del turismo del parque, es solo una parte del turismo. Entonces es muy difícil que eso cambie de la noche a la mañana, como no hagan una gestión muy distinta a la que están haciendo. Vamos.
You create a national park for a reason.
That's right.
It's either for a certain species of wildlife, a certain habitat, ecotourism. Why was Cabañeros made a national park?
To tell the truth, I think it was mainly political reasons, okay? Because it was the biggest, it was like a flag for the government on those days. You know, it was the biggest private land in the whole of Spain.
What are we talking, 70s, 60s, 70s?
Yeah, it was in the even till the 80s.
Okay.
Si lo que tenemos que hacer en todos los espacios, con independencia de su denominación oficial, legal, etcétera, es lo mismo, es decir, es alcanzar la sostenibilidad y dentro de la sostenibilidad los objetivos debidos de la conservación, hace falta que esto no sea un bla bla blu blu de políticos. No construyamos con la sostenibilidad y el desarrollo sostenible otro trampantojo más, no. Hay que convertirlo en una ingeniería real, es decir, medir las cosas, cuantificar las cosas y actuar en consecuencia.
Cabañeros National Park is the least visited national park in Spain or Europe?
Europe.
In Europe. You cannot just drive from Madrid and go walk in the national park.
No, you need to book a route with national parks, and there are some companies that organize this for groups, but you cannot do it
You can't
yourself.
just come and hike. You can't just come ride your mountain bike as you typically would in a national park.
No. This is not a primitive environment not touched by humans. This is not. This is the opposite. This is an environment that has been created by humans to use it.
Sin el hombre no cabe hablar de sostenibilidad. Y sin sostenibilidad no cabe hablar de conservación. Esas cosas son así. Es decir, el hombre no es un retroceso en los procesos evolutivos de la naturaleza, es un avance. Es decir, los animales se han ido adaptando, evolucionando, toda esa serie de cuestiones que nos enseñan desde muy pequeñitos, pero el hombre significa un salto terrible respecto a la evolución de los genes. Es la creatividad misma. Es decir, hay que contemplar al hombre como parte integral de la naturaleza y como el principal progreso en toda la historia natural del universo, claro, nuestro planeta.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I have to wrestle with in my brain is, what is a national park? You look at national parks all over the world, and they're supposed to be these like beacons of biodiversity, of people going and generating tourism and generating jobs and exploring areas. And you have that in Spain. But Cabañeros is not that. You can't access Cabañeros. You have to get a permit. You have to get someone to drive you through a route. It's fenced off. And so the question then is so what's going on here?
Si quitas algún recurso de esos que tenemos, la actividad económica de la zona se queda coja.
A los pueblos de aquí de alrededor eso va todo desaparecería, porque esto es una cadena. O sea, dependemos uno de los otros. Si esto falla, pues vayamos todos.
¿Qué piensas?
Con el conocimiento que tengo, a mí es que no me gusta la caza, entonces no sé si te podré responder como quieras. A mí la caza es que no
quiero
me gusta.
Quiero que me digas lo que tú piensas.
Claro, pero es que no me gusta la caza, entonces como no me gusta la caza, pues
claro.
Supongo que lo veré bien, siempre la caza.
Tampoco sabes si tiene consecuencias positivas.
Claro, yo te digo desde el punto de vista de que a mí no me gusta que se maten animales, entonces no sé si sea por consecuencias positivas o negativas, pero digo desde el punto de vista de que no me gusta que se maten animales.
So has it been good for the people of this area? No. Has it been good for the economy of this area? Absolutely not.
¿Conoces el Parque Nacional de Cabañeros?
Pues no he estado nunca.
Pero
sí,
¿sabes dónde
lo
está?
conozco, sí. Siéntate.
¿Sabes que se prohibió la caza hace 3 años allí?
Sí.
¿Lo sabías?
Sí.
Vale. ¿Y qué te parece? ¿Te parece una idea buena?
A mí me
mala?
parece buenísima, estoy totalmente en contra
Totalmente
de la caza.
en contra.
Mira, con una perrita.
Claro, llevas un perro de caza.
Sí, sí, bueno, pero estoy totalmente en contra de la caza.
Al fin y al cabo hay que matar, porque si no, de una manera u otra hay que quitar animales, porque no podría ser existir todo, mucho animal juntos, claro.
Yo creo que es que la caza no tiene que ser incompatible con la ecología, no tiene por qué.
Por lo cual, yo soy el primero que me creo la caza, aunque no soy cazador.
So when you have a government decision in a national park, you would hope that that decision is to the benefit of things that happen in a national park. Has it been good for the biodiversity, the vegetation, all the little things that make a national park? No. Has it been good for the wildlife, to make it healthy, to make it sustainable so that people can come and see it? The answer is actually yes, but it's 3 times the level that it should be, which is not good. So at the end of the day, why? Why has this decision been made that goes against all of the collective thoughts around what a national park is supposed to be all around the world?
El debate ahora que existe entre actuar o no actuar, no se dan cuenta de que el no actuar es una forma de intervenir, por tanto es una forma de actuación. No actuar en la naturaleza no quiere decir que la naturaleza vaya a caminar, ni en beneficio de ella misma ni en beneficio del hombre. Entonces, solamente en algunos parques nacionales que lo fueran de verdad, es decir, no intervenidos históricamente, capaces de automantenerse las poblaciones biológicas, etc., se podría admitir una no intervención. Pero en los parques nacionales europeos no hay ninguno que cumpla esas condiciones, ninguno, o sea, es absolutamente indiscutible.
And this is why I call you, please come and tell everybody what's going on here. Because I don't see the point of protection to let everything get destroyed.
Yeah, it makes no sense. So what's it really, really all about? It can't be for the health of the environment. It cannot be for the health of wildlife. It cannot be for the health of the economy of the rural population in Spain. Is it a land grab? Is it a suppression of private landowner rights? Is it pure politics and power at the upper echelon of Spanish politics? You decide. From my perspective, it's pretty clear.